welcome everyone. Hi, I'm Chris Elder, and I'm a agent with the Place Network, and I'm also a podcaster, YouTuber as well. You might have seen me on shows such as Chart Your Fi or even the Mill to Vet podcasts that we have out there. And I got the opportunity to hang out with Joe and record some place centric media about why we should move to certain areas, talk about real estate matters, and just kind of get some agent knowledge out there to the consumers that are out there looking to find their next investment in the real estate realm. So, no further ado, let's introduce Joe. Joe.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much. It's a pleasure to work alongside you day to day in the office, helping people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And I think it's really going to be a great conversation as we bring this to the universe to talk about all things real estate, and then talk about some specific things, and even join with some of our operators across the nation in sharing what's special about the locations that they serve. The Place Network is powerful. It's over 200 teams and I believe over 3,000 associates. And so we're just really looking forward to being that resource for the consumer, that they find all things real estate all in one place. And so I think, Chris, you had some things you wanted to talk about on this first go here. And what's on your mind, man?
All right. So, everybody, we're in the 2024 year, and we are getting this episode out to you guys in the January timeframe. So, I'm going to tell you right now, we're already in the phase where you need to be acting towards your next transaction. And me being a retired senior chief, I'm kind of on top of planning, writing it down over and over and over again. Long-term planning is one of the biggest things that I'm really big about. And talking about the housing market in 2024 and coming out of 2023, where the interest rates crept up in close to the eights, if not over eights for some people.
Yeah, wasn't that wild? 8.3, man. 8.3.
Um, yeah, that just hurts my pocketbook just thinking about how high those interest rates got. And a lot of people that are in that frame are actually probably even looking at refinancing now, or even looking at jumping into the next home because it's a new year and using their 1031 or something like that. But I like to analyze the market. And one
Mm,
of our tools that we use while we were in the military is called the five W's:
mm.
who, what, when, where, why, and how. So we would always analyze after action reports using the five W's immediately every time that we look at something. So let's go over the five W's of 2024, and let's just kick it off with why why should you consider buying in today's market?
Yeah, what a wonderful question. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that this question comes up almost every day in every market, every year, and every buyer and seller. And so here's the short question, or the short answer, and I don't mean to sound flippant, but the thing about timing the market, yes, we got historically high prices. Yes, we have these interest rate issues. We have all those things, no doubt. And also, we need to keep in mind that there is a right time for you. So when somebody comes to me as somebody that's had the honor and the privilege of serving people in the real estate industry for 20 years, and they say, is a good time to buy or a good time to sell? What they're really asking me is a deeper question. And so we need to understand when we're talking to that person, is it the right time for you? Because we believe this, we believe there is a time to rent and there is a time to own. And we believe that there's opportunities in every market. If you can read a market properly, you can find an opportunity irregardless of the price, irregardless of the interest rate, and irregardless of the overall climate.
I like it. It's really more, and you kind of dove into this, it's really more of a whole entire mindset of where that individual's at. You can't really say, well, in a broad spectrum, everybody should be buying the whole entire season to rent, season to own kind of stuff. So, who should we be talking with? Like, who should be owning?
Yeah. Well, so here's something that I saw recently that I thought was brilliant, and we actually posted it on our social media for the Platz group. And what it was kind of a breakout of like the headline. If you only read the headline of the news, the headline of every year going back to 2012, right? And there's a lot of naysayers and there's a lot of pessimistic speculation on are we in a bubble, are prices overinflated, and all those kinds of things. And so here's what we know is again, we're back to the questions that the person needs to ask themselves. See, here's what we found. We've never moved in with one of our clients. We don't live with them. And we did forget to also adopt them. And so we don't make their mortgage payment for them. So we say only you have to make the payment and only you have to live there. And so if we take, everything that was good or bad from 2012 or 2020 COVID, and we said, what if because of fear, you withdrew from the market and you paid rent for this exponentially long amount of time? Well, what that would equate to is that you paid an exponentially high premium for a commodity that was a one for one exchange. You pay the monthly rent, you get to live there for a month. You don't have any equity, you don't have any return, you no longer have an asset, you'll only have a liability. And so the secret to real estate really is, are you in a place of stability where you believe that you're going to be there for a little while, and that you believe that your opportunity, meaning your income, has some reasonably predictable stability? Now, nothing's ever perfect and nothing's guaranteed, right? Like it's dangerous to drive on the freeway, right? Something terrible could happen. We could end up in another war, right? Lots of things could happen. So we want to look at this reasonably. And here's how I define reasonable. I define reasonable as not less than 3 years, ideally 5 years, perfectly 7 years. And if we want to be very, very conservative about the decisions you're making, if you bought a home today, could you live in that home if you had to for 5, 7, or 10 years? Could you make the payment, and would it serve your family? Maybe you're a single individual, but you have a desire to have a spouse. Maybe you're a couple and you have a desire to have children. Maybe you're a single parent with children, and you desire to have more children, right? So what does that vision that you have for your life, like if you were my client, Chris, what is the vision that you have for your life, that when we put a lens on and we look at it and we say, okay, Chris, here's how your life looks today. In 5 years from now, if you had no other option, would this home still work for you and your family and the people that you choose to live with? If the answer is reasonably yes, that's a green light. If it's, oh, heck no, that's a red light. I'll tell you one of the things, just to summarize this, that in my practice I've gone to. There was a time in my career where I had people that came to me and said, I want to buy a one bedroom property. And I'd say, well, give them what they want, sell them a one bedroom property. Today, if somebody comes to me and they talks to me about a one bedroom home, and frankly, even a two bedroom, I try to talk them up, because I just don't believe, unless you have chosen to be a single person for the rest of your life, I just don't believe that in a 10-year perspective that you'd never need an extra bedroom for a family member, a friend, a partner, or a child, or right? Like, or even a home office in COVID, right? So I just don't believe in one bedroom product as an example. And that's because I use that perspective of time to make the best real estate decisions possible.
Yeah, I love that whole entire green light, red light. But there's also a yellow light. Would you agree that you should
Yeah.
also be preparing yourself in that
Wisdom.
yellow light?
Wisdom.
Right.
I'd throw this shot, to be honest with you. I think we're in a yellow light market right now. We've had this shock in the marketplace, right? You and I were just discussing recently how last year we were closing buyers in the fives, and 2 years ago we were closing buyers in the threes, right? And now we're getting these estimates on our desks, and they're ranging like 5.8 to 6.8, and we're really grateful because they're not ranging 7.8 to 8.3, right? But here's what I believe about the market, and here's one of my predictions for 2024. I believe when the government says that they're going to adjust the interest rate a number of times due to their management of inflation, that nobody really knows for sure. I believe that. And I believe it will happen. And I believe that it is already happening. And I believe that honestly, if we went back and we looked over our last 3 year, 4 year, and 5 year, year over year, the truth is even right now in what we consider the dead of winter, the tail of fourth quarter, the beginning of first quarter, we have a lot of activity. We got a lot of pending properties. And here's the reason why. It's the relief on the rates. But here's what happens. When the rates go down, the buyers enter the marketplace. And when the buyers enter the marketplace, demand goes up. And when demand goes up, sellers know. They know, and they raise prices because there's more competition. So I think in 2024, we will see over the next 12 months, we will see a net appreciation in the markets we serve. And I think that what's going to happen is that our buyers are going to emotionally feel better about the lower interest rate, but they're going to pay more, Chris. So I think we're in a yellow market right now. Whereas if you have a plan to buy or invest in more real estate, or buy for your first time, or downsize, that you would be wise to make your move now, because the price that you pay is forever, and your interest rate, if you're financing, is not. And you will have a window, I expect, in the next 6 to 12 months, if you were, say, to make a purchase in the next 30 days, you will have a window to refinance into a long-term permanent rate that is going to be much more user-friendly than what we've dealt with over the last 18 months. And you will have the protection of nobody can change that price you paid. But in another 6 months from now, I think our buyers are going to be paying premiums, but they'll feel better because the rates were lower. Logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. Or did I say that right? Yeah. So
Oh
emotionally,
yeah.
emotionally, people will be drawn to the market because the rates are down. But logically, you need to pay the lowest price you can. And I think that moment is actually right now.
Yeah, I think it's a very thin line right now. We're going to approach a time frame where you're not going to be able to get the lowest that you possibly could, because other buyers are going to start. They're already starting. They're already starting to hit the market. They're already starting to get the pre-approvals. That working with professionals in the yellow market to prepare yourself is
Mhm.
so essential. And you kind of hit on it a little bit. My next question is the what kind of investment properties should you look for? You kind of mentioned it a little bit when you said that you're not a big fan of one bedroom, two bedroom, especially for someone that's younger, first time home buyers. Those kind of products aren't very um, lucrative in the long run.
They don't serve time. You could end up needing to make a real estate pivot out of necessity, not out of timing the market. And once you own real estate, part of the wisdom in it is understanding when to make a pivot and when to make a move, right? So here's the things that I would recommend, and things that I'd certainly do if I had a time machine for my life. The first thing is the very best way for you to become an investor in real estate is to own where you live. And you might be a young person or a single person or a person that's kind of restarting over or something like that, or you could be, more stereotypical. But what I would encourage you is own where you live. And if you don't have a family and you don't have a bunch of people that you need to stick in your house because they're part of your family unit, do what we have now in our modern vernacular deemed house hack, and rent those bedrooms out to help make that doggone mortgage payment. We found that most people outside of our urban cores, like the downtown cores, most people prefer to live in a home. They do. They prefer that over the park. So there's a lot of people that they might be in the season or the necessity to rent, and they might as well be helping you versus helping someone else. And so because of those things, the first thing that we believe that you should consider is how could you, even if it meant clawing in, how could you own where you live? How could you make it work? We have some really interesting things that have happened recently. There was a change in the lending guidelines where we can now do multifamily, which is defined as 2 to 4 units, on various financing programs with low down payments, where you could have a full other rental unit. And we can help use that rental income to help you qualify for the mortgage. So we've got a lot of resources there. Now, the second thing is if you own a home, and let's say you're fairly economically stabilized, meaning House payment is not really a burden on you. Income, again, is fairly predictable. Here's the next step we'd recommend. The next step we'd recommend is that you graduate into being a real estate investor. Now, you could do that one or two ways. You could either look at another opportunity for you to make a move, for you to physically move residences. And we'd talk to you about retaining the home that you just moved out of as your first rental property. Or maybe you just really like where you live. Kids are buckled into a school district, it's close to amenities, right? It's just a really good fit for you. If that were true, how could you buy your first rental property? Now, the first thing that happens when we start to introduce this is some people say, whoa, 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 I don't want to be a landlord. I don't want to deal with toilets. I don't want to deal with tenants, and I don't want to deal with trash. Well, quick plug, but we ain't going to spend a lot of time on it. There are people that help you with that. And Chris and I, that's part of our day job. That's what we do. We help you do that in the right way. Now, you start talking real estate investing, Chris. Well, shoot, we need like 43 episodes for that because we could go all kinds of different ways. We can talk about long-term rentals, we can talk about short-term rentals, we can talk about furnished rentals, unfurnished, right? We got a lot of things we go second homes. A lot of people use second home financing as the way to get into that first real estate investment beyond their primary residence. And they might enjoy that home part-time, and they might enjoy putting that home on Airbnb part-time and get some income off that thing and having it not only appreciate, but getting some help making the mortgage payment. And so there's a lot of different ways that we can spin that off. So we would conclude that for this conversation by saying that is why we should go have coffee together. We should sit down and talk about what your goals are and how we could help you get to those goals and how we could help you build your wealth. Because what we know is that it only takes 5 properties to make you a multimillionaire when you play the playbook, and we have that playbook. So reach out to us and let's talk about it.
Yeah, and that's definitely on a national level. Some of these environments are different areas. It may not even be five. It
Yeah,
could be three. I
could be.
mean,
Let's say 3 to 10, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
maybe if we're in a really rural area where you can buy houses sub $100,000, you might need a few more for some leverage, but it's not going to cost you very much to get there.
yeah. So when should people be looking to buy?
Everybody wants to predict the market. And I think it's always fascinating because you can't. Real estate is definitely an industry of lag measures. We don't have very many lead measures. You can look and see what the interest rate is right now, and between now and when you pick up your phone, the rate could change. And guess what? You call your favorite lender and they quote you a beautiful interest rate, but if you don't have a contract on a property, you can't lock the rate. So we're always looking in the rearview mirror. And so we can use logic and we can use patterns and we can use intelligence to kind of predict these things. And here's one of the things that we know right now. We know that in the markets we serve, the greater Seattle area and the Boise area, we know that COVID changed the patterns a little bit. And what I mean by that is we noticed a considerable slowdown of activity in fourth quarter and first quarter, winter. Now, in the past, we would have said they were slower too, but COVID changed the dynamic and they're even a little slower yet. So what does it mean? Here's what it means. It means that right now sellers are more negotiable than they are any other time of the year. And honestly, they're more negotiable right now than they've been in the last 18 months, with the exception of this time last year. And so now is a very good time to do what I said a minute ago and lock in that price and use the tools that we have to make the payment manageable today, with the intention that we will get you into a long-term plan that'll help you win with a fixed rate that makes sense and isn't insane.
And here's the other conversation that we get a lot of is, where should I be buying at? And this is we could really dive into this super deep, but just kind of getting the 30,000 foot level view, where should our clients be looking at?
I think we need to just use really smart metrics for that. I think we need to look at, even if we're a remote employee, Where does it make sense for us in the event we need to go to the office? If we're in a locality where we have a big opportunity, where our family lives, right, where the best place for our children, if we have them, to get their education, where the best quality of life is, and those sorts of things. The beautiful part of America is I think we got a really an abundance of really fantastic places to live. And what I know that I would almost say might be more important is when you graduate from that season of being the person that owns your home to being the real estate investor. I do deeply believe in investing in the market you live in. It gives you a chance to tangibly see your asset. It gives you a chance to take part in the process if you choose to. And most of all, it gives you the advantage of you understand that market. You know what people are looking for when they move there. You know where the great restaurants are. You know where the good schools are. You know where the safe neighborhoods are. All those kinds of things. And so for us being on the West Coast, if we just up and decided to go invest in Georgia together, Chris, like we don't know. We don't know where the good neighborhoods are. We don't know where the best jobs are. We don't know what the easiest ways to get to the freeways are that we don't have a really long commute. We don't know those things, but we sure as heck know them where we live, right? Because you and I talk about that kind of stuff all the time because it affects our life and it affects the life of our clients. And so, I really think that we make that decision first on what we're going to do for us and our quality of life. And then from there, we use that information that we have to make really smart investment decisions into the future.
Yeah, I love it. And, Joe and I are primarily in Idaho and Washington State.
Yep.
And I could tell you as a local investor in the Snohomish County area, having properties in other areas, I'm not a big fan of them because I'm not able to touch them.
Yeah.
I'm, managing properties and building relationships with my tenants that live there. It's
Mm.
just I have a lot better relationships with the people that are closer to me, and whenever they have something that happens at their home, I I tend to be the one that shows up to the home because that's just the kind of relationship that I've built with my own personal tenant. And you could speak on managing volumes of homes and also having multiple states and stuff like that. So just to kind of dial into this just a little bit, do you do you sometimes wish that you didn't have to travel all over the place to get to your properties?
Well, sure. Our family life by design created an opportunity where we intentionally chose to be a little bit more mobile than most families are. And we have no regrets to that. But to say that there isn't times that you've just gotten to one location and you got an emergency at the other one, that doesn't happen. That happens. And that's why we've surrounded ourselves with a team. And that's why if the idea of real estate investing to you is intimidating, you need to surround yourself with a team. Can you invest in locations where you're not as savvy in the market? 1000%. Can you hire a team to support you? 1000%. Are there coaches, trainers, and teachers that show you how to do it? 1000%. I am kind of like, I grew up in a small town. I grew up in rural America, so I kind of have some mindsets that are shared by a lot, but not everyone. And I like investing where I live. I like contributing to my community. I just heard you, Chris, say that you like having a relationship with your tenants. And what I can guess from that is that because you have a relationship with your tenant and you're a real person and you're not just the landlord or the corporate guy or the whatever, that when they're writing that check, or they're doing the wear and tear or the damage on your home and those kinds of things, that they are responding differently because they know you, they think well of you, you guys are working in a partnership, and there's probably just less resentment from a tenant even if something goes wrong. Things will go wrong. Heat will go out in the middle of winter, right? Roofs will leak. I
Yep.
got one right now that we fixed a roof leak 3 times. And we just the recently here, we've had a bunch of rain and we had to tear part of the roof off and we had to plan it all around the rainstorms because Washington State is rainy on the West Coast. So, it's just one of those things that it's an inconvenience to the tenant, but we want that tenant to understand that despite these unfortunate circumstances, that we're going to do the right thing. We're going to respect the heck out of them in their space, and we're going to get it done. And that's just something that I personally would be more challenged by doing if, say, that property was in Georgia, as an example.
Yeah.
No shade
Oh
on Georgia,
yeah.
just putting a place out a long ways from me.
Yeah. And there's a lot of programs out there that our listeners have probably heard of if you're into investing and stuff like that. And hey, feel free to reach out and ask us our own opinions on those different programs. Like that's what we're here for. If you are looking at investing, there's so many different topics, and Joe and I will be sharing some of our insider knowledge because we feel that that kind of knowledge is going to help a lot of our clients make those kind of decisions. So let's get into the last one. I know it doesn't start with the why. Okay, how?
How? How I think is really simple. Um, there's a tension that people deal with. That tension is that when you wake up every morning, you've got a lot of optimism for the day. You want to have good opportunities. You want to save money. You don't want to be taken advantage of. You want things to go well. You want things to work out for you. And from the sincerity of that, sometimes we get a little messed up. And we start thinking, you know what? Instead of taking my car to the auto shop, I'm going to change my own oil. Well, you could probably change your oil, but what if there was something that you didn't know that was wrong with your car that the guy that knew the car when he was changing your oil could say, hey, Chris, by the way, you have this safety concern, or you're in winter and your car's probably not going to start sometime in the next few weeks because this thing here is failing. And so I like to equate the question to this. Um, I could do some work on my car, but I hire a professional. I am even so arrogant to believe that I could fly an airplane, but I don't believe I could land it. I can get it off the ground. I could fly. Landing is going to be sus. Okay. So how do you get started? There is a huge real estate community of professionals like us, and we would be honored to have this conversation with you that would love to help you, that would love to help you land that plane so that you don't financially crash, but you financially win as a real estate investor. Because our entire goal is to deliver the dream of home ownership and help people build wealth through real estate.
I love it. You know, Finding that agent that has your best interest at heart takes a little bit of due diligence,
Yeah,
and you should be interviewing multiple people, in my opinion.
yeah.
You and and I have this little stipulation I like to tell all my sailors. Any of my old sailors that are going to hear me, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, okay, senior. They're um, the adage is you either fail to plan or plan to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So not having that plan formulated is you planning to fail.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
so you got to put it down on paper. You got to write it down. You got to find um, the trusted agent. You have to get yourself pre-approved. There's a lot of different things to get to that how. Um, what what is it that what is it that place brings to the table, and why should people want to work with people that are inside the place network?
Yeah. Why you want to work with somebody in the Place Network, and there's some opinion here, so I'll give you the fair disclaimer, it's opinion. But what I've seen in my career as a real estate professional, and I experienced firsthand, is that we are helping you navigate through a very large transaction worth a lot of money. I'd equate it to having like a pretty serious surgery, not like the outpatient kind, like the kind you recover in the hospital for a few days after. And so if you're going to have financial surgery, um, you would want somebody who is very well trained. You'd want that training. I don't want some surgeon that's just not got great training doing some complicated procedure on me. And what Place offers is we have taken our operators from across the nation, and we've taken their playbooks and we've looked at their training, and we've looked and we've found the best of the best of the best of the best that we can find. And we brought that together as a single resource that we provide to everybody that joins us, whether they have experience or they don't. And we say, listen, here is what we have found to be the best training on the continent to help people through their real estate transaction. And so I think what the consumer gets is they get somebody who is well equipped and well resourced and surrounded by a wealth of knowledge, and somebody who has had probably 2,000% more training than the average agent that is helping them through that. And I just think that's really critical, because I kind of got thrown to the wolves when I started, and I've got thousands upon thousands of colleagues that would tell you the same thing. And when we put somebody into our profession today and we put our name and our logo on their business card, they are not just being thrown to the wolves, they are receiving world-class training, well
That's
above
it.
and beyond what the state and the nation national laws require.
I love it. And I could contest to this, being a newer agent and being inside the network, there are so many trainings and so many metrics and things that really help us, allow us to become more valuable in our efforts to help our clients out. So it's been really awesome. Hey, this is the first episode, guys. So
Yeah,
tell us what you think.
that's
Tell
right.
us,
Can't get
let
better
us
without
know.
feedback.
Yeah, let us know. We need some subscribes. We need some likes. We need some comments on there. Everybody, let us know where you're listening from in the comments. That would be awesome, so we can kind of know where we can take our episodes to and really help you guys hone in on your local markets as well. So, from Washington State, I fare you guys well.
Yeah. And today I'm signing off from Boise, Idaho, but next time I might be right next in the desk right next to you, Chris. So we'll talk to you soon, and we thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that we can continue to bring information to you that is relevant and helpful and assist you in your goals to own homes and to protect your wealth and create a legacy for you and your family. We'll talk to you all soon.